when you look at a clock, you're just so deeply conditioned to measure your life in these really tiny, digestible increments.
Right, like seconds, minutes, hours.
Exactly. We frame our entire existence around this very specific, very biological timeline,
Mhm.
like birth, aging, sickness, and death.
Yeah, and in Buddhism, there's actually a specific term for that human life cycle. It's called Sangno-byungsa.
Saying no byung-sum.
Right, it's just, well, it's the inescapable biological reality we all share, you know? It's a very grounded, very human-centric way of looking at existence because, I mean, we just assume the universe operates on our watch.
But what if you took that clock and you didn't just zoom out a little bit, but what if you zoomed out so far that a single tick of the second hand took billions of years?
That really breaks your brain a little bit.
It totally does. Like, what if the universe itself has a lifespan? So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've gathered this fascinating stack of ancient texts, research papers, and modern interpretations of Buddhist cosmology.
A lot of material, yeah.
It is. And our mission today is to try and understand this mind-bending cosmic scale, this cycle of the universe known as Gong.
Right.
And we're also going to explore the surprisingly terrifying fate of celestial beings, which our sources refer to as the decay of the angel.
I mean, trying to comprehend a scale this vast is just an incredible philosophical exercise.
Oh, absolutely.
When you truly grasp the mechanics of how these ancient cosmologists viewed the universe, it really has the power to profoundly change how you view your everyday earthly struggles.
I am absolutely ready to tackle this. So let's start with the universe's life cycle. We have Sangno-byungsa for humans, but for the universe, our notes introduce this framework of Gong.
Right, Gong.
Walk me through the mechanics of this. Are we talking about like a literal physical life cycle for outer space?
Well, the texts actually treat it as both physical and spiritual. So Gong is the framework for this unimaginably long cosmic cycle, and it's broken into 4 distinct stages.
Okay, 4 stages.
Yeah. First, there's Song, which means creation, so the universe coalesces and comes into being.
Makes sense.
Then comes Ju, which means abiding or staying. This is the stable period.
The hanging out period.
Exactly. The physical laws are set, galaxies are turning, and the universe is literally farming life, as the texts poetically put it.
And presumably, I mean, that's where we are right now, right? We're in the farming phase.
According to the framework, yeah. We are currently in the abiding stage. But after Ju comes Go, which translates to destruction.
Okay, that sounds ominous.
It does, but the sources describe it not as some sudden explosion, but more like a systematic unraveling of cosmic order. It's very gradual.
Right.
And finally, there's Gong, which means emptiness. The physical structures just sort of dissolve back into the void, waiting for the cycle to inevitably start all over again. So it's creation, abiding, destruction, emptiness.
Wait, there's a really brilliant detail in the research about the narrative structure the Buddha used when he taught this, though? Because he didn't teach the cycle in chronological order, did he?
No, actually he didn't. And the psychology behind his decision there is so fascinating.
Right.
Because you'd naturally assume a teacher would start with Sion, creation, start at the beginning. But according to the texts, he started by teaching Go, destruction, and Gong, emptiness.
He introduced the collapse and the void first.
Exactly. He taught those first, and then circled back to explain creation and abiding.
I found that so surprising when I read the notes. I mean, okay, let's unpack this. That is basically intentionally telling someone how a movie ends before the opening credits even roll.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Like telling someone a movie ends terribly just so they know there's going to be a sequel. Why would anyone do that?
Well, think about the emotional impact of the concept. If you approach a group of people and say, hey, eventually everything around you, the earth, the stars, the heavens themselves, will decay and become empty.
People would freak out.
Right. Human nature dictates that we panic, we fall into nihilism. People would naturally ask what the point of morality or striving even is if it all just ends in a dark void.
Oh, I see. So if he spoiled the ending, but immediately followed it up with the sequel, which is creation, he was preventing that panic.
That hits the absolute core of the teaching. By placing destruction and emptiness at the beginning of his lesson and then showing how creation organically grows out of that emptiness, he was ensuring his followers understood that emptiness is never a final tragic end.
It's just a transition.
Yes, it's merely the space required for a new beginning. He was basically training them to see existence as a continuous loop, rather than, a straight line ending in a brick wall.
And the timescale of that loop is staggering. Like, to even measure it, the sources introduced the term kelpa, or geop, in Korean.
Right.
And this isn't just a big number, is it? It's something else entirely.
No, a kalpa is a Sanskrit word originally used by ancient Indian cosmologists as a unit of time so vast it intentionally breaks the human brain's ability to count.
Because we love counting things.
We do, but we're talking about the lifespan of an entire universe, from creation to emptiness. It's designed to make you just stop trying to use human math altogether.
But the notes point out a really interesting modern misunderstanding of this word, which I love. Because over centuries, people have completely twisted what a kalpa actually means.
Yeah, language is a funny thing like that. Over time, the awe-inspiring objective scale of a kalpa was kind of diluted in everyday conversation. So today, you might actually hear people use the term geop in the context of geobaic.
Which means something completely different now.
Right, it translates more to bad luck, a disaster, or heavy karmic debt.
Like someone saying, oh man, I'm going through a real geop at work right now. They mean they're cursed.
Yeah, exactly. They use it to describe a period of intense, seemingly endless suffering. But originally, a kalpa was entirely neutral.
Just a measurement.
Right. It wasn't a curse or a disaster. It was simply the ultimate big picture, the breathing in and breathing out of the cosmos.
Okay, if we're talking about the cosmos breathing out, I want to go back and look closer at that fourth stage for a second. Gong, or emptiness.
Okay, yeah.
Because the texts make it very clear that our typical Western understanding of emptiness as this depressing, dark vacuum is just completely wrong.
It is the exact opposite of a vacuum, actually. Yeah. If we connect this to the broader landscape of Eastern philosophy, this state of gong shares a lot of DNA with what Taoism calls muguk, which is a limitless, absolute, and ideal state, like a utopia almost. When the physical universe dissolves during the destruction phase, it doesn't vanish into non-existence, it condenses.
Condenses into what, though?
It reverts back into wangi, which means original energy, or sometimes it's called jigi, supreme energy. You can think of it as a state of pure, concentrated, divine potential.
Wow.
Before form exists, there is just the raw material of reality packed infinitely tight.
So it almost acts like a cosmic battery, just fully charged and waiting for the circuit to close.
Exactly.
But how does the universe transition from that singular, concentrated energy back into a physical, multifaceted reality, like with planets and people?
It has to polarize. And the texts use a very specific mechanism for this event called Yangban, which translates literally to two halves.
Oh, here's where it gets really interesting, because the energy splits down the middle.
Yes. The singular original energy divides into two complementary forces. One half becomes the architecture of heaven, and the other half becomes the physical grounding of earth.
It almost sounds like, well, a zipper.
A zipper.
Yeah, think about the mechanics of how a zipper works. You have these two separate tracks of metal teeth, right?
Sure.
If you just hold one side of a zipper in your hand, it's completely useless. It cannot close a jacket. It serves no function on its own.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Right. It is only when those two distinct halves interlock and support each other that they actually function and create something whole.
That captures the physics of Yangban perfectly. The sources are incredibly explicit about this mutual dependence, actually. Heaven, for all its infinite glory and spiritual animating power, literally cannot produce or nurture biological life without the heavy physical manifestation of Earth.
And vice versa.
Exactly. And Earth is just inert rock without the animating energy of heaven. They are strictly, inherently equal halves of a singular mechanism.
And the research highlights how socially revolutionary that idea is, even for us today.
Yeah.
Because it totally dismantles some very stubborn, ancient patriarchal myths found in other texts.
Oh, completely.
Historically, there was this hierarchical idea that heaven, which was always associated with men and the masculine, was inherently superior, all-knowing, and dominant.
Right.
And earth, associated with women and the feminine, was inferior, passive, and subservient.
You're referring to the Namjan Yobi ideology there, the idea of male superiority.
Yes, exactly.
The texts argue that this hierarchical thinking is a profound misunderstanding of cosmic mechanics. It's simply humans projecting their own petty power dynamics onto the universe.
Which is so typical of us, really.
It is. But the physics of Yangban dictate that one half is not the boss of the other. They are co-creators. If one fails, the entire universe fails.
That makes so much sense. But this raises a huge question for me. If the universe is this massive, perfectly balanced zipper opening and closing over billions of years, where do you and I fit in? Like, what is the human experience actually like while the universe is breathing in and out?
Well, to answer that, we have to shift from the macro scale down to the micro. And the texts offer a rather melancholic analogy for the human experience within this vast machinery.
The forgetting quail.
Yes, the analogy of the forgetting quail.
I read this part of the notes, and it is incredibly sad. Walk us through the quail.
So imagine you die and your consciousness moves on. The text suggests that in your unseen past lives, you might have been an incredibly advanced spiritual being. You might have spent thousands of years walking through heavenly realms, engaging in profound cosmic studies, and traversing the entire universe.
You are essentially a cosmic god.
A highly elevated being, for sure. But the cycle demands reincarnation, and the universe enforces a strict cosmic amnesia.
You forget everything.
You forget everything you ever learned and everywhere you ever went. In this new life, the analogy says, you are reborn as a tiny quail.
Oh, man.
And as this quail, you flutter your little wings and you look around in absolute awe at the simple fact that you can fly a few feet off the ground into a bush.
You're marveling at this basic, mundane achievement, completely blind to the fact that you used to literally soar through the heavens.
Exactly.
It is such a profound metaphor for human ego. We get so proud of our little earthly accomplishments while the cosmos just looks on, knowing what we used to be capable of.
It really highlights the immense difficulty of spiritual progression because every time we return, the slate is wiped clean. We have to start learning the basics all over again, usually entirely distracted by the physical world.
Well, if we're trapped in this cycle of forgetting, it makes me wonder about those past lives. Where exactly were we walking? Because the architecture of heaven in these texts isn't just one big fluffy cloud where everyone hangs out together.
Not at all. The structure of the celestial realms is highly categorized. The sources detail a cosmological model containing 36 distinct heavens.
36 different layers. Why is it layered like that?
The heavens are stratified by spiritual refinement and the absence of desire. So the higher you go, the less attached you are to physical form or sensory pleasure.
Like a gradient.
Exactly. It's a gradient of purity. And the texts focus heavily on one specific tier in this massive structure, which is the 33rd heaven.
Which logically sounds like it should be the penthouse. I mean, if there are 36 floors, the 33rd has to be near the very top.
You would naturally assume that based on the number, but the terminology is actually deceptive.
Oh.
The 33rd heaven is actually a title. It's called Doritian. And despite the number in its name, structurally, Doritian is only the second heaven from the bottom of the 36 layers.
Wait, really? So it's basically the mezzanine level. It's just barely off the ground floor.
Yeah, it sits just above the human and animal realms. The reason it holds the title of the 33rd heaven is because within the sprawling architecture of Doritian itself, there are said to be 33 smaller sub-realms or cities.
Okay, the geography makes sense now. And there's a fantastic cultural remnant of this specific heaven that people still participate in today.
Yes, there is.
Because if you've ever watched the New Year's Eve celebrations in South Korea, there's a famous tradition at the Bosingak Pavilion. They ring a massive iron bell exactly 33 times to bring in the new year.
Millions of people watch that every single year.
We do. And a lot of people mistakenly believe the bell is rung 33 times because there are exactly 33 heavens in Buddhism. But as you just laid out, there are 36.
Right.
So the 33 rings are actually a direct tribute to this specific heaven, Doritian.
Yes, the tradition is deeply rooted in these texts. Doritian is heavily revered in the cosmology because it is the specific realm where Queen Maya, the mother of the historical Buddha, was said to be reborn after she passed away.
Oh, wow.
So ringing the bell 33 times is a way to honor her and broadcast a blessing across that specific spiritual frequency.
It is wild how these massive cosmological structures are just hiding plain sight in our modern holidays. Like we just do it without knowing.
Absolutely.
So Queen Maya is in Doritian, the second heaven from the bottom. But here is the concept that completely threw me when I was reading the sources. Arriving in heaven is not the end of your story.
No, heaven is not a permanent retirement plan. And what's fascinating here is this introduces a mechanic called Bogjuntarak, which roughly translates to exhausting your blessings and falling.
The universe does not give out free rides.
It really doesn't. We have to look at how karma functions as a literal currency here. When you perform selfless acts on Earth, you accumulate positive karma. If you amass enough of it, You are reborn into a place like Dorichin to enjoy the results of your hard work. But, and this is key, you are actively spending that karma to exist in that paradise.
It almost sounds like being given a prepaid debit card to stay at a luxury hotel.
A prepaid debit card.
Yeah, like you check in, the suite is gorgeous, the room service is incredible, and you don't have to lift a finger. But every single day you stay there, the balance on your card is silently ticking down.
That is a perfect analogy. And eventually, mathematically, the funds must run out.
And when the card declines, you get kicked out. You are evicted.
You fall from that heavenly state.
And the sources don't just vaguely say you fall. They get horrifyingly specific about the biological and psychological process of this eviction.
They do.
It is an event called Chiyonunoso, where the decay is the angel.
Yes. The Ikotara Agama, which is an ancient collection of Buddhist discourses, outlines 5 distinct sequential signs that a celestial being's karma is running dry.
Okay, let's walk through these because it sounds like a literal nightmare for these beings. How does it start?
So the first signs are environmental. The texts say their flower crowns naturally wither.
Wait, real flowers?
Yeah, exactly. In these realms, adornments aren't made of dead metal or gems. They're woven from living, divine flora that feeds off the wearer's spiritual energy.
Oh, wow.
So when that energy fades, the flowers on their head literally begin to wilt and die.
Okay, seeing the flowers die on your own head is a tragic warning sign. But maybe you can just take the crown off, right? What happens next?
Well, then it affects their garments. Heavenly clothes are described as perpetually immaculate, like they naturally repel any filth.
Okay.
The second sign of decay is that their beautiful clothes suddenly become stained and start holding on to dirt.
So their divine force field is basically shutting down. That is alarming.
Very.
But the third sign, this is where I would panic, because it shifts from their clothes to their actual bodies.
The third sign is that sweat begins to pour from their armpits.
Armpit sweat. That is the ultimate cosmic eviction notice.
It really is.
You are a divine angel floating in paradise, and suddenly you need deodorant. I mean, why is sweat such a big deal in heaven?
Think about the physics of the celestial bodies. In those realms, bodies are refined, weightless, and pure. They don't have bodily functions as we know them.
Right.
So to suddenly experience mundane physical excretion like sweat is a horrifying biological regression for them. It's the realization that they are becoming heavy. They are becoming mortal again.
They are turning back into animals. I'd be terrified. Do they realize what's happening to them?
Absolutely, which triggers the fourth sign. They feel a deep, agonizing displeasure and restlessness with their own seat or position.
They can't get comfortable.
Right. They lose their divine contentment, they become agitated, unable to sit still, and they're just overwhelmed by a very human sense of anxiety.
And that leads to the fifth and final nail in the coffin.
Yes. The Jade Maidens, who are the celestial attendants who accompany them, abandon them.
They just leave.
The texts specify that they refuse to listen to the decaying being or even come near them.
That sounds incredibly cruel. Why do the attendants just leave them to suffer alone?
It's not out of malice, actually. It's just physics.
Physics.
Yeah, the attendants are attuned to divine light and purity. When the being's karma runs out, they begin emitting the heavy, foul stench of mortality. The attendants are physically repulsed by the spiritual decay. They have to pull away.
The psychological isolation of that must be crushing. I mean, the texts describe these decaying angels weeping in absolute terror.
It's devastating.
Because remember the geography we talked about?
Yeah.
Dorichin is only the second heaven from the bottom.
Right.
So if they fall from there, they aren't just dropping down to a slightly less luxurious heaven. They are plummeting straight through the floor back into the human realm. Or worse, the animal realm.
They are returning to a world of intense physical suffering.
Which raises an incredibly obvious question. So what does this all mean? Like, if you are an angel and you see the flowers wilting and you feel the sweat dripping down your side, why don't you just go do some good deeds? Why don't you just earn more karma while you are in heaven to top off your prepaid debit card and avoid getting evicted?
That is the ultimate paradox of this entire cosmology. You can't.
Why not? Just be nice to someone.
Because heaven is too comfortable.
What does comfort have to do with earning karma?
Well, to accumulate positive karma, to perform jexion, which means righteous deeds, you must relieve suffering. You have to feed the hungry, clothe the poor, comfort the grieving.
Okay.
But look around heaven. There are no hungry people. There are no sick people. Everyone is perfectly content and wants for nothing.
Oh.
Because nobody needs your help, the environment literally deprives you of any opportunity to perform a selfless karma-building act.
Wow. So it is a gilded cage. You can spend your spiritual currency all day long, but the economy of paradise does not allow you to earn a single cent.
Exactly. Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of why the universe operates this way. If you want to evolve spiritually or even just maintain your status, you cannot stay in paradise. You must return to a place where suffering exists.
You have to come back down.
And you must return to the human realm.
Earth is the ultimate classroom.
It is. The struggles, the poverty, the pain, the awful interpersonal conflicts down here, they are not random punishments or accidents of a chaotic universe.
Right.
According to this framework, they are precisely the required tools for spiritual evolution. Earth is the only realm gritty enough to provide the friction needed to build real patience, real compassion, and real karma.
That completely flips the script on how we live our lives. I mean, we spend all our time down here trying to escape suffering, trying to build our own little personal heavens with wealth and convenience and isolation.
We do, constantly.
But if we succeed too well at making our lives perfectly comfortable, we just end up like those decaying angels, spiritually stagnant, unable to grow, just waiting for the funds to run out.
Without the resistance of suffering, the spiritual muscle atrophies. The friction of human life is the very mechanism of growth.
Understanding this vast scale really changes everything. The idea that the universe itself dies and is reborn over billions of years, that heaven and earth are perfectly equal halves of a zipper, and that even literal angels sweat and fall from grace, it shrinks your daily anxieties.
It provides a massive cosmic context for our tiny humanity.
It really does. When you realize the sheer, terrifying scale of a kalpa and the endless loop of Seonjugo, suddenly our petty fights over small things, like a promotion, a traffic jam, or as the text put it, fighting over a single bowl of rice,
Yeah,
it just seems so absurdly insignificant.
very true.
It forces you to let go of the small stuff.
And it brings us back to that clock you mentioned at the very beginning.
Yeah.
If a single tick of the universe's clock takes 1 billion years, our human lives are just a microscopic fraction of a millisecond. But according to the mechanics of karma, that tiny, painful millisecond on Earth is the most valuable, productive time in the entire universe.
Which leaves you with a rather profound implication to consider as you go about your day.
Yeah, think about this. If the human realm is truly the only place in the cosmos where you can actually level up, precisely because it contains suffering and people who desperately need your help, you have to wonder,
What's that?
could it be that the specific hardships, the frustrations, and the pain you are facing in your life right now are not random bad luck? What if they were exactly the advanced cosmic coursework you eagerly enrolled in before you were born?